Good morning, responsible day traders. Today is Monday, December 13th, 2021. I'm Lindsay Duff, and this is Responsible Day Trading. Last week, I didn't get back in until Tuesday, and then by then, I was playing catch up all week. So I did do some trading on Friday. It was 51 points, nothing to sneeze at. Pretty happy to end off my week that way. But it was just, I actually traded up to the very end of the day. To the point where I just closed out the last one. I'm like, I'm not waiting any longer for anything to do anything. I'm out of here. So let's talk about what's happening this week. We did have contract rollover last week, which is awesome. So always be prepared to change your contracts. One of the great things about NinjaTrader, it goes ahead and moves the contracts over for you. So it sends you a little message. You have a choice whether or not you want to go with it or you can just stick with the old contracts. Personally, I go ahead and switch over when it asks me if I want. I just switch back and forth through the toggle option right up in here. It is a personal choice, whatever you want to do there. And as always, the first part of checking out the market is going to see what we got going on with the news. So let's go check out market news and see what we got going on this week. I mean, we are coming up on, the end of the year, so things may slow down quite considerably, y'all. So we just want to keep those type of things in mind as we're going through watching the market. So we don't have anything today, Tuesday, pre-market. Wednesday's a big day. We've got some pre-market, and then at 1 o'clock, we've got FOMC. And so we just want to keep that in mind. It could be a market mover, and at the same time, it could be a showstopper. So just keeping these things in mind. And pre-market on Thursday. So it's pretty light news week with the exception of FOMC, which it's a 6 of one, half a dozen of the other as to what happens with that. So next, let's go ahead and look at that daily chart. Let me pull that puppy up. Where are you, daily chart? All right. Woo, guys. I wasn't able to talk to you last week, but I looked at this and was like, how gorgeous is that, right? Pulled right down to the EMA area. It's never an exact number. It's always areas. So we did get back below the EMAs, kind of that halfway point between the two EMAs, and it pulled back up. Now, what we look at here is we can see that we're really trying to equal that previous high. We haven't quite equaled it. The high is right up in here, but we are sure pretty darn close to where all those closes were previously. And that's a pretty good indication that it's an area that could create a bounce. Not only that, let's look at what the Macd'S are doing and talk a little bit about that. Now we can see how the Macd'S came down super strong. And they've struggled to come back up, which has created some divergence. We've equaled that previous pivot point, and Macd'S is leading lower. Or should I say the potential for divergence, because divergence doesn't happen until we make this pivot here back to the downside. So if it pivoted right here, right now, man, we got that divergence. I honestly would be anticipating trying to pull all the way down to this next area. I mean, it can, and it can also pull back down into the EMAs right in here, which once again is that high frequency area where the resistance was before. And you can see, boom, right in this area where it pulled down to the EMAs, that last high pivot, and just bounced right off of it. So what we're going to have to see in the Macd'S is the ability for them to cross this top Bollinger Band, do some work to move up. We would be in the long run anticipating some divergence up in this area up here as the price has come down, come back up, and if we can't get back up to this area and the price and the MACD start to turn, we definitely have some divergence. I mean, we saw it happening through the pivots here as it led higher. And let's just look at this. We led higher, and the price and the MACDs struggled to go up. And what happened? Boom, we came down. Well, right now, the price and the MACDs have agreed. We've equaled that previous pivot point. and we've exceeded here. As long as the MACDs equal that previous pivot point, there is no longer divergence between these pivots. So a couple of different scenarios happens at that time. It either is going to keep making new highs and pushing back up above these EMAs and these Bollinger Bands and these MACDs, or what we're going to see happen is the price and the MACDs start to diverge, right? So as this continues up a little bit, the MACDs just struggle to exceed the area of the Bollinger Band right here. So if that happens, definitely going to expect it to at very least pull back down into this area. And then in the long run, I would expect it to possibly come back down to here. Okay, maybe making a bit of that M pivot to pull things back down. So I'm not one of those that likes to try and determine what's happening in the long run. I like to be an immediate trader. I think we all know that about me at this point, but anticipating, having an idea, knowing what to expect are all parts of the game. We have to at least have if this happens, then I'm going to anticipate what is going to happen at that point. So if then is always what we need here. Now let's go ahead and go to the 28,657. All right, what we got going on here? So the 28,657, we can see we pulled down to the area, nice W pivot, pushed off so much strength. I wish I would have been here for this and been able to participate in that, because that was a lot going on. And then it just kind of died out for a while. Pulled back into the EMAs, pushed off of it. Now, what do we have going on right now? We have that potential for divergence. Remember, why is it potential? Because we haven't made the turn yet. These BBs can still come all the way up here, equal this previous pivot point, and exceed it. Potential for divergence out the window. But we don't see that happening right here, right now. Actually, what we do see happening right here, right now, is we see that the price has reached this really, really high area. And we've kind of come to a standstill right here. MACDs are trying to slow down just a little bit. I don't know that I anticipate this right here, right now to pull back all the way into the area of the EMAs, but it is definitely something that we're going to have to watch along the way. So right now, the direction is definitely still up. It is trying to shift the direction to push it back to the downside. It doesn't mean it's going to move the direction to the downside, because to technically have the direction to the downside, we'd want to be back below the EMAs and back below the zero line. So our direction is still up with the potential for a push back down. Let's look at our more immediate charts. You can see here in our more immediate charts also have divergence where the price is leading higher, MACDs are leading lower. I just had a sneeze attack where the, and you can see what's happening. We can just look in the long run, just kind of like we were earlier. Man, it's really still struggling to make a new high in the MACDs. Now, it agreed here. We were leading lower. We push back up higher. We'd really want to see it exceed this particular area to say, hey, we no longer have divergence. So we don't have divergence between the immediate pivots, which says more up. But if we look in the long run, it's saying that we might see this give us a nice little push back down. Now, the push back down could come right back into this area, and that's the first space that I would expect it to go, is right back in here where it really struggled to exceed that area all through here. Okay, and so that is where I could anticipate it to come back to, or it could just stop right here at the EMAs. Doesn't look like our 1597 is saying that's really what's going to happen right here, right now. Because what we see in the 1597 is we see the MACDs pushing down and the price making reversal bars to try and push down a little bit lower. Now, this is our first area to stop on the 1597. So if we reach this area and it hangs out, then we may see this go back up. But it's made a bit of an M pivot, maybe push it back down, like I said, right back into that 46, 94, 95 area. That held it up for so long, or heck, the market's going to do what it's going to do. It could pop up right here, right now. So if I look at my 233, it's a mess. So I can't really use this to determine the direction. We can pull it in a little bit tighter and see that we've got these pullbacks to the area, which say more down. The Macd'S are trying to lead a little bit higher, which says be cautious about pushing down right here, right now. All right, I had a little bit of technical difficulties, so let's come back and go over my trades real quick from Friday. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but you can see here I did trade up to almost the very end. I took my last long and saw this pull up and said, man, it didn't break through, and it pulled back, and I actually moved my target up just so it would take me out really quickly. But you can see here what I did for the day. The first trade of the day was a little bit more difficult. I struggled a little bit with it, and I said, man, it's pulling back. I only took a point off of it. The next one, I not necessarily chased it. I did get a little bit of a pullback. I loved the pullback here, and I knew I didn't have a whole lot behind that, so it was kind of that aggressively in, aggressively out type situation with that. I did keep adding on more trades, as you can see right in here. Little late on that. I struggled to have it right behind this area, but I did move it up as it pulled back, which I had it right behind here. Bam, pulled back and hit me. But by that time, I started actually putting in some significant points with that, right? So we let it pull up and up and up. And every time it pulled back, I'd go ahead and just put in another contractor few and just let it run for a little bit. And you can see it took a lot of targets right here in the end. The very last one definitely was, and this one definitely looks like a chase. Wow, I chased it big time on that one. No, I remember what it was. It wasn't a chase. It just popped up really, really quick as I tried to hit the entry back in here. And so I kept my risk right behind here and moved it up very, very quickly. And I was able to stay behind this area as it pulled up right in here. I moved up my risk one more time. It pulled back again. My last few trades, I don't want to say are my most conservative trades on the planet. I really just kind of got in here, got in again, and you can see that last few I really struggled with a little bit and just took my targets pretty quickly because knowing, and actually I'd sat there for a while and sat there for a while and sat there for a while and just said, I'm not going to spend the last of my day doing this, and went ahead and exited that trade. All right, folks, we're going to try and get a little bit of trading in this week. I've got a lot on my schedule as always. I mean, with Christmas coming up, and we do have a lot of new students that we've taken on. We do have a couple of spaces. So if a few of y'all are looking to fill some of those, hit me up, let me know. You can reach us at info@responsibledaytrading.com and get some information about how to join and become a student here and learn how to read the market like a pro. Just flow with that sucker, right? Well, I hope everybody has a wonderful week. Guys, just be patient. Listen to what the market's telling you. Don't try and force anything. That's all I can always tell you, because that's the only way to make it work. Whenever you try and force things, it is not a fun game. Folks, I hope everybody has a fabulous week. And as always, you know that I look forward to catching you on the profitable side.